So yesterday Shopify had their annual event where they announced their updates. It's called Shopify Editions. They released over 100 different updates. In this video, I'm just going to cover some of the updates that relate to the actual website part of Shopify, your theme, customizing your theme, maybe changes to the admin. Obviously, there are also a lot of changes with things like shipping and taxes and different sales channels. I'm not going to cover all of those things, otherwise this video would be like 3 hours long, but you can check them all out on the Shopify Editions website, which I'll link in the description. Today I'm going to talk about section groups, about custom CSS, about the new Translate and Adapt app, and also about MetaObjects. And I'll just briefly touch on some new upcoming features like AI being built into Shopify and an upcoming bundles app and other things. So stay tuned if you want to hear more about that. Let's get started with the section groups. First thing I want to show you is section groups, and this is pretty easy to explain. Previously, we had sections that we can change here and we can move these things around, of course, but the header and the footer were always static, weren't they? You couldn't hide them, you couldn't move them around. Well, now they behave like other sections on your store, so you can move them around, but only within their group, right? So this is the header section group, and you can move the header around only in here. So at the top of the page, basically. And likewise for the footer, you can move it around only inside the bottom of the page. And you have a few other sections available in this section group. You have a custom liquid section here in Dawn theme. I'm on Dawn 8.0, by the way. You'll have to update your theme to have access to these section groups. But in Dawn, we just have custom liquid, and we have an email sign up section that I can add here. And we can put that email sign up above the footer or below, but it's not like we can use all of the sections available in our store inside of here. That's not the case. One other thing is that I can see Pagefly section here, and that's because I have Pagefly page builder installed. So I'm guessing that if you are using a page builder, you'll have a bit more flexibility here because you'll be able to add any section that you built using the page builder, but that's not relevant for everybody. But that's basically all there is to section groups. Developers, themes are now going to be building sections for the header, for the footer, or for the general body of the page. And yeah, we can move these around or hide them. And also this works, of course, in combination with templates. So you can set up a special, maybe a landing page template where you would hide the footer. Some people do that sort of thing. That's all about section groups. The next small update that we have to the theme editor is custom CSS inside sections and for the theme in general. So have a look at this. When you go into theme settings, you scroll down almost to the bottom, you now have this custom CSS field, and you can add any CSS you want, and this is going to affect your entire online store, or depending on what classes you use. This is kind of useful if you're making minor styling changes to your store and you don't want to create a new file, or you want to keep the ability to then update your theme using the automatic update that Shopify provides if you haven't made any code changes to your store, right? So the problem previously would be that if you click on edit code and you go to the code editor, create a new CSS file and call it like custom.css, as I've shown on my channel previously, and write your CSS in here. The problem with this is that if you save this here, then you've made code changes to your theme, and then you might not get the automatic update feature, where it says update available somewhere here. So Impulse version 7 available, and you can automatically update that theme and it carries across all of your settings and stuff. Often the problem is that when you make code changes to your theme, you lose that ability because now it can't, it doesn't want to overwrite your stuff. So now instead of doing this, you can add custom CSS in here, but I don't see this as being like a serious thing. If you have very minor styling changes, you can add them here, but I wouldn't really add styling for a whole page inside here. I still prefer to keep my stuff in a custom.css file. And when you want to update, you can just save a backup of this file on your computer, delete the file, and then you can update your theme, and then you can bring that file back in the updated version of the theme. Anyway, the same thing with this custom CSS, we have this per section as well. So now inside of each section, you will see a custom CSS field like this. And here's where you can add CSS that will affect only this section. So that's pretty cool. It's quite useful for very minor styling changes to your website. Next, we have a new app called Shopify Translate and Adapt. This isn't only useful for a multi-language store, it's also useful if you simply sell to both the UK and the US, and you can rename things to use the local names for it. For example, pants or trousers and things like that, and the local spelling if you want to. Or if you are in Europe, for example, then you'll definitely find it very useful to have a translation app and have multiple languages. This is what the app looks like. It's very simple to use. You have an auto translate button that will translate pretty much everything on your store, but you can only auto translate up to 2 languages. And then if you have more than 2 languages, then you need to manually translate everything. I'm not sure why it's only up to 2 languages. Maybe we'll see that being increased later. Here I've clicked into products, and I can also auto translate not the entire store, but products on an individual level. So here are my dark indigo shorts. I'm just going to click auto translate on that, and it's going to translate that using Google Translate. Okay, it's not AI, it's just Google Translate, so it may have mistakes, but you can easily go through and correct any mistakes or anything that sounds weird. One thing that I really liked about it is that it also translates meta fields. So in previous videos, I've showed you how to set up fabric meta field, for example, 100% organic cotton, and it's translated this perfectly to Polish, which is really good. People have been commenting on my videos actually about translating meta fields, so there's your answer. Finally, we have MetaObjects. This is probably the most exciting update, but it's also the hardest to explain. So you might have this association of MetaObjects. It sounds like meta fields. If you don't know what meta fields are, let me recap quickly. Meta fields allow you to add additional fields onto a product page or a collection or a blog post, and they appear down here. So here's a field where I can add a size chart image and attach it to only this product, but not other products. So it allows you to add unique things to products. Material, that's a good example, cotton and polyester. But the point is that meta fields allow you to add additional information about a certain object, about a product in this case. A product, a collection, a blog post, a page. These are all objects. But in Shopify previously, we could not create new types of objects. Not a product, not a blog post, but maybe a recipe, for example. If you wanted to post recipes on your site, you would use blog posts for that, even though a recipe isn't exactly a blog post, The best way I can demonstrate what a meta object is with an example, and this is actually from the Shopify blog. They were talking about this store, Smash and Tess, that created meta objects for their influencers. So here are some of the influencers that work with this brand, and as you can see, we have various information about them. Their name, Instagram tag, a little profile picture, a bigger picture, and then a link to their personal page, right? And then a link to their own collection. And so here's how we can set that up. Just go into settings and then custom data, the same place where you would find meta fields usually, but here we find meta objects, and we can define a new meta object. I'm going to call this object influencers, or rather influencer, one influencer. And the influencer is going to have a name, okay, single line text, one value. And then what else is there? They're going to have a profile picture. They're going to have a tag. It's their Instagram tag. Let's go with a file for their profile picture. And I think that's enough for this demonstration. Now I'm going to save this definition of the influencer meta object. And now I can start adding entries. So inside content and then meta objects, we can now click add entry, and the type of entry you're going to add is an influencer. And we're going to call our influencer Bob, and his Instagram is @Bob. And then we can upload, a profile picture for Bob. Bob's a rabbit, okay? And now we have this saved as a new type of object, right? Bob is not a product. Bob is not a blog post. Bob is an influencer, right, inside of our MetaObjects. So I hope this kind of made sense. And now that we store this data here, we will be able to output it on the front end of our store in a variety of different ways, depending on how the theme has built that integration with MetaObjects. But basically, here's the big difference. Here I've added Bob onto the page in the theme editor the old way, right? By adding his name here, by adding information about him here, and his image here. And this is all stored inside of the theme editor. And this isn't very good, because if I go to another page, right? If I want to feature this block, all this information on another page, I have to enter that into the theme editor again on that next page. And also, if I update theme, if I change theme, it's very easy to lose this. If I remove this section, oh no, I've lost all information about Bob, and I have to find his image again and his tag and all of that stuff. But now that we have Bob saved as an influencer in our MetaObjects, he's inside of the Shopify admin database just the same as your products. Whatever you do to your theme, your actual product information is not going to change, right? All of these products still stay. Well, now we have the same thing for absolutely any kind of content that you want, whether it's influencers, whether it's recipes, or maybe like events, anything you can think of, you can now store inside of Shopify as a meta object, and thus making Shopify more of like a content management system. This explanation has gone on for way too long, but I hope that made sense to you guys. Lastly, I just wanted to preview some cool upcoming stuff for you. This one I'm really excited about. Auto-write product descriptions. So check this out. You just add some keywords and features about your product and click auto-write, and AI is going to generate a full product description from that. That's something I've been experimenting with ChatGPT for, but that's actually going to be built directly into Shopify, which is awesome. Next thing that I think is pretty cool is that OpenaAI GPT-3 is now integrated into Shopify Flow. So if you're using Shopify Flow, you can use AI to generate any text based on certain rules. And to do that, you simply select it as one of the actions inside of Shopify Flow. You'll find OpenaAI, as in this video, and then you can give it any kind of information and get some kind of response from it. And then finally, it looks like product bundles are finally going to be part of Shopify, or at least in a more native way. It's still going to be an app, but it's an app released directly by Shopify, and it's going to integrate with themes really nicely. This is something that we've been waiting for a long time, isn't it? Everybody wants to do bundles on their store, and it's been one of the main disadvantages of Shopify that there are no native bundles, and you always got to use an app for it. Well, now it's going to be more or less natively built in, at least like with a Shopify app. It's not released yet, but you can be considered for early access if you sign up. We'll see it released sometime this year. So that's just a few things from this year's Shopify Editions. Like I said, there's over 100 updates, and you can check them all out by scrolling through the Shopify Editions site. I'll put this link in the description, and I definitely recommend you check that out. If you liked this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.